Hey, it's Jeremy from OpticHouse.com, and I am reaching an interesting turning point for these videos. And it's odd that's happening after just posting my 100th drawing video. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to stop making videos. This isn't a whole, I've ran out of stuff to talk about, I don't know where to go with it type things. It's more about me trying to figure out what exactly I want the nature of these videos to be. Because part of it is that I try to make it where I'm talking over videos of stuff I'm working on anyway, as opposed to making a special tutorial. That way, it's like I just continue making what I'm making. And it's more of a video blog of my creative process, me just sharing what I'm working on, as opposed to specifically doing a lesson. However, as I've continued to work, I've found sometimes I have stuff on my mind and things I want to say that don't relate directly to what I'm drawing. And yet, there's still things I think are worthwhile. They're about creativity, the creative process, where ideas come from, how and why we make things. So I still want to share a lot of that content. The problem I'm finding now is that I had actually recorded audio previously to go with the video you're looking at now. And I still have that audio. I'm going to share it sometime in the future. And it's a lot about the emotional content of characters. So it's a little bit more talking about the writing side. And I guess it's nice to have some cool visuals to go with story when you're talking about the writing side of storytelling. Because, writing is more, it's so much more of an interior process. It's harder to talk about. But the audio absolutely did not go with this video. This piece here is me finishing up the inks for a Batman tattoo I did for a client, and me getting in here and doing some brush inking. This piece was really fun to do. It had the interesting challenge of forcing me to try not to noodle. Noodling is a lot of time just putting marks down just because the marks look cool and they fill the space, but they don't really say anything. So when you're doing something that's, a lot of figures, this has a lot of bats flying around, or you're doing a crowd scene, or something that's complex and has a lot of detail, it's real easy to get into that habit of just hatching and dropping lines all over the place to kind of give it a cool feel. But it's like when you're listening to a song that has a lot of loud guitars and drums, but it doesn't really say anything. I'm trying to reach more towards art where each line says something. And when I say I'm reaching for that, I'm not saying I accomplish it every time, but you got to reach for higher, lofty goals and do things that are a little bit beyond your ability. And I know for a lot of my life, earlier in my art career, I was a heavy noodler, just throwing down lines just because it looked cool or it felt cool to make the line. So I'm trying to, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with having a cool line here and there. Sometimes something looks cool just because it's cool. That's okay, if you can nail that. But something's even cooler if it looks cool and it feels cool and it has a purpose. That's always better. And so you always want to reach for the better. Anyway, in terms of what I'm doing with these videos and the audio that goes with it, now that I realize, sometimes I'll record audio and then sit down to put it with the video, and I'm like, yeah, this really just doesn't go with it. And so in this case, I had to record something new, which is just me telling you what I'm thinking about and feeling about. So it still fits in with the theme of blogging artistically. But I don't know whether this is going to turn into more of me just almost like a video, almost like a podcast where I'm just talking about whatever I want to talk about, and yet just still having visuals of me working underneath, or whether it will still be something where I'm talking about specifically whatever it is I'm drawing. I don't know if I'll go back and forth between the two. I don't know whether going back and forth would be irritating and piss people off. So I'm in a state of flux, and that's okay. Because when you're creative, you don't always know the answers. You don't always know how a piece is going to come out. There are a few fortunate artists who see the entire thing in their head and know exactly what they expect the final piece to come out with. And then there's the rest of us. And you sketch out a roadmap, and then you make it up as you go along, and you try to make the thing the best that you can. The better planning you can have, the better I think a piece comes out. But also you need to leave room for improvisation. You need to leave room for discovery. That's it for now. Check out my website, optichouse.com. If you enjoy these videos, please share them. Also, sign up for my weekly newsletter to get a free digital download and see what else I'm working on. Go be creative.